I've been at medical school for a few years now, and the main thing I've learned is that learning and revising is a lot more hard. And that's really annoying because you'd imagine when you're at A-levels that yes, things are difficult and you have a lot to learn, but it's partly because a lot of your hours and minutes and days are taken up by applying to uni. Now when you get to your first year of uni and medical school, you imagine I don't have to apply to uni again, so things should be easier, right? Well, that's not entirely true, and that's because a lot of the content that you learn and a lot of the ways that you're tested are very different to A-levels. And over the last few years, I've learned 5 laws of learning, essentially, that have helped me to negate that and get myself more time, essentially, to relax and do other things I want to do. So I'm going to tell you all those 5 things today, and we're going to talk about how to put them into practice very quickly in your first year so you can avoid struggling like I did, essentially, as soon as you start. So, sounds like a good idea to you, let's get into the video. So the first law that I really understood was that you have a lot of lectures to do and a lot of lectures to attend, as well as tutorials and other stuff. Go to all your lectures. Problem with missing lectures is that now that we're in this post-COVID era, you have the opportunity to watch lectures online, which is fine, and you have the opportunity to watch recorded lectures, so lectures that in person would be recorded and uploaded to whatever platform your uni uses. Now the problem with this technique is yes, it's great, you don't need to wake up at 9 o'clock for a 3-hour lecture on glycolysis, but the problem is that you probably won't watch it. Very quickly you'll end up with 5 lectures to catch up on, which if they're 1 to 2 hour lectures can be 7 hours of content, which is a lot. And you don't have time to catch up because you've got tutorials and exams and mocks to prepare for. So the easiest way to get around all this is to basically just attend your lectures as a bare minimum. And if they're online lectures that are recorded and uploaded, try and do them on the first to third day that they're uploaded to. So give yourself 3 days to do them. Now this way, yes, it's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult and potentially very boring, but you'll find that you don't have to catch up on anything. Now the next thing is to collab. What I mean by this is the people that you're learning with are not competitors, they are not snakes, they are not trying to beat you at anything here. You're all together in one year group, and at medical school there is no competition. You're all trying to pass. Your friend passing doesn't mean that you're going to fail. That's not how med school works. You can all pass and you can all fail as well. It's not normally set based on how your year performs, or at Imperial it isn't. It's based on a predetermined pass mark. So literally there's no point in hiding anything from your classmates. In first year, you're all going to make about 10 different mistakes to do with your revision. Now if you work together, you each have to make less mistakes to get to the final stage where you're revising at your best capacity. So why would you not collab with people who are your friends and essentially get to the end goal, which is good exam marks, a lot quicker? This can be sharing notes, learning with them, having group study sessions, whatever you want to do. I recommend doing it with friends. And at the same time, in first year, obviously your friends won't have many notes. The people who will have notes are going to be people in second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and even sixth year if you're Imperial, or other unis that have a BSc year. And I'd recommend going to them. They've got plenty of notes, that means that you don't have to work as hard, and also they've got loads of tips and can break stuff down to you a lot easier than a lot of the lecturers will be able to, because they've just done what you've learned. So I'd really recommend getting to know people older than you and people in the years above so that they can give you notes, help and advice. And I guarantee you everyone's going to say yeah. Next, prioritize what you're learning. Now this should be based on 2 things. Based on A, what you're finding difficult, and B, it should be based on how much you're going to get tested on in the end of years. Now in med school, the way your end of years work, or at least at Imperial, however much you get taught on a particular subject is roughly equivalent to how much you get tested on it. So if you get taught about 10 hours in total of cardiology, but 5 hours of renal or nephrology, you'll probably get tested on twice the amount of cardiology as you will renal and nephrology, which makes sense because you've been taught more on it and you hopefully have learnt more and you've got more material to cover. Now that means that you should be spending also a roughly similar proportion of time on cardiology compared to renal during your revision. But you also have to consider how good you are on a particular topic. So if you're really bad at neurology, but you're really good at, I don't know, gastro, spend more time on neuro, because even though it's not going to be as fun revising neuro, come the exam, you'll thank yourself for spending more time on a subject that is potentially harder and leaves you with less educated guesswork. Next is to really understand what active and passive learning are. Now you'll have known what these 2 are, and you'll likely associate active with flashcards and passive learning with notes. This isn't necessarily true. Active learning is any form of revision that involves you testing yourself regularly. So this can be flashcards, it can also be taking notes. If your notes are laid out in a Q&A format, that would be active learning, as long as you're testing yourself. Now, passive learning is anything that doesn't involve testing yourself. So rereading a textbook is not going to be helpful in the same way that colouring in stuff, or maybe things like writing notes out again by looking at a textbook isn't going to be helpful again. But if you're writing stuff out without looking at a textbook and essentially blurting all the knowledge you have onto a piece of paper, that can be helpful because it is a form of testing yourself. Anything that tests yourself is good. Flashcards are just the easiest because you can make them during the lecture and come back to them later on. And you can do this on Brainscape, Quizlet, Anki, any of these flashcard apps that exist you can use. Anki is the most well-known one, so that's highly recommended. But anything that works, you can use paper flashcards, you can even use a Word document and just write questions and answers and just cover the answers up, and you can do whatever you want. But active learning is honestly the only way that you'll do well at med school, realistically. You can't passively learn at med school, you don't have the time for it, and it's not effective. So do be sure that you're doing active learning. And finally, make sure to organise your time. And I use a golden 15-minute rule. Every day for 15 minutes, I'll sit down and I'll spend 15 minutes on essentially thinking about the bigger picture. So this is not to do with lectures I've had on that day or tutorials I've had on that day. These 15 minutes are for me to either revise concepts over the last few weeks that I found hard, revise a topic that I want to understand more for the end of year exams, or just to sit down and think about where I'm at right now with my learning. So if it's, for example, November, you're probably going to be at the start of your year one journey, and take those 15 minutes a day to maybe think about where I am in the course, what have I got left to learn, what have I already learned, and if you just do that regularly, you're going to be so much more better prepared because you'll know exactly what you're learning, what needs to be learned in the course, what you're going to be taught about next year, and next term more importantly, and it means that by the time end of years come around, you'll know exactly what's going to come up, exactly what to revise, and exactly how much time to spend revising on each section. And this golden 15 minutes isn't a lot each day. That's 15 minutes before you go to bed maybe, or whatever. But that builds up over time, and that 15 minutes can become 3 hours very quickly. So please do take 15 minutes each day whenever, just to spend some time doing some general revision about whatever you learn. It can be about anything you want, whatever you find hard, just 15 minutes a day, and it'll make your life so much easier. Now those are 5 things that I've picked up. They're very personal, they worked for me, and I still do them quite a lot, but they might not work for you, which is fine. Everyone finds their own hacks. Learning in med school is such a unique thing, so if someone else is doing something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it. That's also important. But if you do have any other things that you think you found and are quite effective, drop it in the comments down below. If you've got any other questions about med school or Imperial, if you're coming here, make sure to get in contact. My Instagram's here, or again, you can comment down below. And yeah, if you've got any other video ideas, etc., let me know. And also, please do subscribe. We are very close to 1K, which is 1,000 subscribers, and that's really cool. So please do subscribe if you're not subscribed and watching. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it's been beneficial to whoever you are, whatever you're at med school, or maybe getting into med school, or even finish med school and just want to see what's going on. Hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll catch you all in the next video.